And I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened by the way Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League, now by those sorry-ass Browns and sorry-ass Kevin Stefanski.
I understand in a situation like that, when it comes to the 3s and 4s that you're playing with that aren't going to be on the squad and not going to make the team, give your quarterback a chance. Okay, you know what? You know they can't hold up that long? Let's play quick game. Let's play quick game just to get Shedeur in the goddamn rhythm. But no, you come out calling regular offensive plays.
When they're at practice, Shedeur Sanders is not their priority. When he is at practice, he was staying hours beforehand, leaving hours later.
Shedeur Sanders was knocked down. He was sacked. The offense stalled. From the very first series, the pattern was set. Sanders entered the game with an offensive line composed of 3rd and 4th string players, men fighting for roster spots, but unlikely to survive final cuts. Behind them, Sanders had no protection.
I'm going to answer this question by saying Shedeur Sanders, and I'm going to tell you why. I think he's being set up to fail.
Ahead of him, receivers struggled to separate. Every snap became a race against collapsing pockets. Every read a fight against pressure arriving too soon.
Like if I need a quarterback and I think this kid is it, what he didn't realize is the guys that have fallen in the draft before, they all had unusual traits. Like they had some superstar qualities to them. Now some other things happened that made them fall, but Shedeur and his family, they overplayed their hand. Them thinking that he was in the same evaluation mode as Eli Manning.
The NFL preseason is designed to prepare players, but in this case, it exposed them. Whispers spread quickly. On social media and call-in shows, the word sabotage surfaced, then stuck. The pattern fed the narrative.
Do you think Shedeur knew they wanted to make an example out of him?
I don't think he realized to the extent that the NFL would go to make an example out of him. No, I don't think he knew that. I don't think his dad knew the extent.
A 5th-round rookie placed behind fringe linemen, long developing concepts called against live pressure, and a 2-minute drill opportunity handed to a veteran instead. Fans and commentators framed it as a setup, pointing to the wave of subsequent roster cuts along the offensive line as proof that the support around Shedeur Sanders was never built to hold.
What I heard from someone that's in the NFL, that the NFL told other, don't draft him, do not draft him. We're gonna make an example out of him. And this came from a very good source. And he said that, I won't say who, somebody called the Cleveland Browns and said, don't do that.
The conversation moved from fan forums to mainstream outlets. Headlines asked whether Cleveland had set up the rookie to fail, and debate shows questioned why developmental reps in the game's defining moments went elsewhere. Reports noted that Sanders' snaps largely came with lower-tier personnel, and that he absorbed 5 sacks on 6 completions, further fueling the perception that the deck had been stacked.
They were forced into drafting him because somebody made a call to them, said, you know. And I said, when I say this is a NFL side source for sure, you know. So this is not here. So look, one thing about it is, and I'll just say it, you know, they don't like when guys have brands, especially black players. You know, and that's mostly us with the brand. You know, we kind of, some guys are flashy and all that kind of stuff. They don't like that.
Inside the building, the message was different. Kevin Stefanski publicly rejected any sabotage talk, describing the approach as standard preseason evaluation, and reiterating that the staff's job is to develop rookies while defending the late switch to a veteran in the 2-minute situation.
There's a guy open, you're trying to get rid of the football, but your ball carriage right there, if I'm good, I can stop right there. You see the ball right here in the right back right door? You can't do that right now with Shedeur. So feel tough, because when things going wrong, man, it's a tough look. It's really difficult to come back from. Right there, it's just not good.
League coverage echoed that pushback, emphasizing the context. Final week preseason football often pairs young quarterbacks with 3rd and 4th string units on both sides.
So usually when one bad thing happens and another bad thing happens, a lot of young rookie quarterbacks allow this to maybe snowball onto one another. And so when that happens, it's tough look.
In the end, nothing concrete emerged beyond speculation, but the optics lingered. The sequence, who blocked, who ran routes, who took the 2-minute drill, kept the setup narrative alive outside the facility, even as the team dismissed it inside. That tension between perception and protocol became part of the story, reshaping how the Knight and the rookie were discussed in the days that followed. Most rookies are given simplified schemes, quick passes, safe rollouts, conservative calls that allow confidence to build. For Sanders, the opposite happened. The Browns coaching staff dialed up standard offensive plays. Deep drops, slow developing routes, progressions requiring precision and time. But with the protection unit in front of him, there was no time. With the receivers on the field, there was no precision. The result was inevitable. Pressure from the defense arrived instantly. Pass rushers collapsed the pocket before Sanders could complete a drop. Routes unraveled before they had a chance to develop. By the end of the first few series, Sanders had been hit repeatedly, the offense unable to string together momentum. In practice sessions leading up to the game, Sanders had shown effort few could match. He consistently arrived before teammates, staying long after. His commitment to preparation was evident. Yet despite this, he was rarely given first-team reps. Timing with the starting receivers was never built. Chemistry with the starting offensive line was never developed. And when the lights came on, none of that mattered. Sanders was thrust into live action without rhythm, without trust, without the tools other quarterbacks had been afforded. He was left with little more than effort against overwhelming odds. The outcomes mirrored the setup. Multiple sacks, drives that stalled, missed opportunities born from collapsing protection, not because of a lack of talent, not because of poor preparation, but because of the circumstances surrounding him. Observers could see the flaws in the structure. Protection broke down before Sanders reached the top of his drop. Receivers struggled against coverage. Running lanes failed to open. Every indicator pointed to a quarterback placed in an unwinnable situation. What came after the game, however, may prove even more telling. Sanders faced reporters and accepted full accountability. All those sacks, they're on me. There were times I should have gotten my eyes in better spots. I needed to move through my reads quicker. Despite the evidence suggesting otherwise, Sanders took the blame entirely upon himself. He did not mention the protection. He did not mention the personnel. He did not mention the play calling. Instead, he framed every error as his own responsibility. That response revealed maturity beyond years. Many rookies would highlight the disadvantages. Many would voice frustration. Sanders chose silence in that regard. Silence that spoke volumes. The handling of Sanders is not isolated. Within the NFL, young quarterbacks have often been placed in impossible situations, only to be judged harshly for the results. A poor stat line becomes evidence of weakness. A difficult debut becomes a lasting label. Narratives are created quickly, often without context. For Sanders, that narrative seemed predetermined. Questions about hype and readiness followed him into camp. By surrounding him with backups and calling plays that maximize difficulty, the Browns allowed that narrative to take center stage. The outcome fed the doubts, confirming suspicions many had voiced even before the preseason began. Comparisons highlight the difference. Other rookie quarterbacks were provided with safe throws, simplified reads, and support from stronger personnel groups. Sanders was not afforded that courtesy. Instead of nurture, he faced exposure. Instead of protection, he faced chaos. The numbers reflect the disparity. Multiple sacks recorded in limited snaps, no rhythm established, no chance to demonstrate capability. But beyond numbers, the visuals revealed even more. A collapsing pocket. A quarterback forced to flee before plays could develop. A system working against its own player. And yet, through it all, Sanders endured. He absorbed hits, he maintained composure, he showed leadership even as the scoreboard and stat sheet painted a different picture. His words afterward emphasized growth, learning, and accountability. This resilience matters. The NFL is filled with athletes who thrive under ideal circumstances. It is rare to find one who maintains leadership when everything around him is falling apart. Sanders demonstrated that rare quality. Why was Sanders denied first-team reps? Why was he thrown into live action without chemistry or preparation? Why was the playbook not adjusted to his situation? Each question leads to the same conclusion. The situation was not designed for success. Instead, it fed a narrative. The narrative that Sanders was overhyped. The narrative that he was unprepared. The narrative that he could not adjust to the NFL. By the end of the night, critics had footage of sacks and stalled drives, They had evidence they believed confirmed their doubts. What critics did not account for was Sanders' reaction. While numbers told one story, his composure told another. The story of a player who accepts accountability. The story of a leader who refuses to fracture. The story of resilience under unfair conditions. And in many ways, that story carries more weight than the stat sheet. The preseason is often dismissed as meaningless, but in reality, it offers windows into a player's makeup. Sanders' night revealed traits impossible to ignore. Poise under pressure, maturity in response, commitment to growth despite adversity. Those qualities matter as much as completions or touchdowns. They forecast the kind of professional Sanders can become. The Browns may have believed they controlled the narrative. By scripting difficulty, by surrounding Sanders with backups, by calling plays unsuited to the moment, they may have thought they had buried the hype. But in reality, what was exposed was the system itself. A system unwilling to adapt to the player. A system that placed narrative above development. A system that risked undermining its own asset. And in that exposure, the spotlight shifted. Sanders was no longer the story of the night alone. The organization's handling of him became part of the discussion. Shedeur Sanders was knocked down, he was sacked, the offense stalled, but those images do not tell the entire story. They do not show the hours he spent preparing long before teammates arrived. They do not show the leadership he demonstrated by absorbing the blame. They do not show the resilience he displayed in circumstances designed to test him. The bigger picture is not one of failure. It is one of endurance. This preseason game will not define Sanders' career. If anything, it may strengthen it. The ability to withstand adversity, to remain composed under fire, and to carry responsibility in unfair conditions, those traits are the foundation of long-term success. The stat line may fade from memory, the final score may be forgotten. But the impression of a young quarterback refusing to break under pressure will last. Sanders stood tall in the face of adversity. He absorbed the punishment. He carried the blame. He revealed resilience. That is the lasting image. And that is the true story of the night.